For the entirety of Chapter 1, we were learning about one of the 7 shoes, Litost. Learning about Litost was very fun. His story was odd, but it was fun to piece together his past and go through his really strange journey. However, Litost is just one shoe out of 7. There are 6 more shoes, each with secret stories and mysteries to uncover. Luckily, we don't have to wait until Chapter 2 to find out about Lantern or the others, because we have these anecdotes. These anecdotes are basically short stories about the other characters, and I will say, it seems like we learned about Litost first, because he was the least interesting of the shoes. So buckle up, because there is a lot here. We'll start with everyone's favorite thick businesswoman, Songque. She is the shoe of deception, so it's not hard to infer what she's going to do later in this arc. But besides that, her anecdotes really don't tell us much. She is talking to a group of people, most likely giving a presentation of some sort, about the origin of the shadows. She explains that life before the shadows was quite peaceful. She defines the word shadows as darkness that is not touched by the light. She says that people fear darkness and fear makes the shadows come. Using this and other forms of unique logic, she comes up with the bright idea of just don't blink ever and you'll be safe from the shadows. She also made talisman water to quote-unquote counteract the effect of one blink. I don't even really know what that's supposed to mean, but the people buy it, and I suppose that's what matters. She even claims to have not blinked in 3 years, which is not true. I can't decide if Songque's title is true, and she really is the greatest liar, or if people in Lake are idiots who will believe anything. I think it's the latter, because in the next story, we find out someone actually bought it, and it turns out to just be regular tea. Surprise, surprise. Correction, a regular tea that doubles as a sleeping drug. Even though this was an obvious scam, it works anyway because unconscious people can't feel fear. So her stupid scam actually paid off. Good for her, I guess. The conversation takes a dark turn as the man begins questioning her abilities and starts wondering if she just stumbled upon the talisman water instead of making it like she said. Which prompts her to freak the heck out, threaten him with something called the 7 Days of Dread, and then says, I will personally see you to your burial. So Songque's a bit of a nutcase. Next up is Lantern. She is the shoe of destruction, and, as her title implies, she's the badass of the group. According to her first anecdote that has a pretty distressing title, it tells us about a little girl scared and alone who is about to get pummeled by shadows until Lantern swoops in, kills them all without issue, and brings her to Amber Street where it's safe. Pretty heroic and cool of her to do. She seems nice until you go into the next story where it tells us that she kills people too. Hooray! Lullaby states that she is forced to kill people, and every target she eliminates is merely out of duty, and that she has compassion for everyone she kills. She shows that compassion in a bit of a weird way by singing songs for them after she kills them, which is kinda sweet but also really creepy. Imagine walking alone in the streets of Linkju, which is creepy enough thanks to the dilapidated buildings, and all of a sudden you hear a lady singing. You go over to check it out, and you just see Lantern singing over a corpse. Sometimes multiple corpses. That is straight out of a horror movie right there. And she doesn't just sing the same song every time. No, she's methodical about this. She comes up with a unique song every single time, and the weirdest part is the number of notes the song has mirrors the amount of people she has killed. So if she kills 86 people in one go, which she has done before, she would sing a song with exactly 86 notes. If she kills 100 100 people, she creates a song with 100 notes, and so on. She weaves a unique melody for her enemies each time. Then we switch to a conversation between Lantern and an unknown person. The unknown person asks if this is Lantern, which she denies. The unknown person says that what Lantern is doing is weird, obviously, and Lantern says she doesn't think that it's weird at all. Well, Lantern, all I can say, I hope you target me next. Serapeum is the shoe of union and is referred to by many as the thousand-eared night god. The reason for this title is for now unknown. The story is from the point of view of a man that had it all until everything crumbled down, all because of the 10 faces of misery, aka the shadows. The man was completely hopeless until he heard about Union, aka the thousand-eared night god, because she can, quote, dispel shadow calamities and the true connection of souls. Serapeum has a sort of a cult-like fan base, with a lot of people trying to get into her good graces to end up in her library. The library is unknown for the most part, but I'm assuming this is where she resides. This library does not look special in any way. It looks just like an ordinary library that you would find driving around or in a shopping mall. It is not seen by everybody. Chances are it doesn't even appear for most people, and the conditions for it to appear are unknown for now. But our boy in the story manages to have it appear. Once he enters the library, every sensation he feels at that moment triples. When he breathes, it feels like an overflow of air is going into his lungs because he feels like he has multiple throats. It felt like his body was covered in sweat because he felt he had countless pores. In the end, he screamed because it was way too overstimulating, and he ran as fast as he could out of the library. The story ends there, and I guess we'll have to wait for future chapters to learn more about the thousand-eared god and her seemingly ordinary library. Thelema is the shoe of pleasure. It's not what you think, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter. Thelema is special because, along with an anecdote, she has an entire separate story event tailored just to her, which is absolutely insane, but this video is only about the anecdote, so let me know in the comment section down below if you want a video about this character event. Her story is titled The Banquet. It's a conversation between Songque and a currently unknown character. Songque is telling this unknown person about a banquet that Thelema is holding called the Frenzy Feast. The Frenzy Feast is being held at her palace called the Masked Corridor. In order to get invited, you have to have noble qualifications. No one really knows what those are, but it's up to Thelema to decide if you have them, so it's a fun little mystery. The Frenzy Feast is only over until Thelema says it's over. After all, why would you want to leave? It's got it all. Dances, delicacies galore, and Thelema even puts on glorious bits of entertainment that our mortal minds can't even comprehend. Doesn't that sound awesome? You're even safe from those nasty shadow calamities out in the world. So what are you waiting for? Join Thelema's guests at the Frenzy today. I mean, she's just a cute anime girl. What could possibly go wrong? Ajita is the shoe of gadgets, and she's really weird. If you have played the chapter, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you how strange she is, but these stories reveal that she's weirder than we thought. Fragment of 8 Consciousness shows us a conversation between her and Lantern. Lantern steps inside one of Ajita's many storage rooms, specifically the first floor of one of her storage rooms. She has a lot of storage rooms. Ajita is planning on abandoning that storage room, as she's apparently letting everyone that comes in take the artifacts for free without charge. When Lantern questions this, Ajita states that she wants to start from scratch and rebuild the artifacts by shattering her own soul and fusing it within each artifact. Think Philvy, but instead of dividing her brain into 8 parts, shattering her soul into 8 parts and fusing those soul parts into her artifacts. She says that she's acting rationally and chose the most efficient way. But the most efficient way for what? We don't know. The way she shatters her own soul is unknown for now, and she explains by putting one consciousness into multiple artifacts, she can go around the world and experience multiple things at the same time, explore anything she wants to explore in the shortest time possible. She assigns different parts to herself, different missions and purposes for currently unknown reasons. And while this anecdote doesn't tell us much, it does make me view things Ajita said in the chapter in a different light. Like this statement about lacking assigned memories makes more sense now. It looks like another fragment of Ajita's soul has the knowledge to activate the Anchor of the Apocalypse, which is interesting. This line about her being 1/5 awake also makes more sense, as she may be talking about the 4 other parts of her around the world. One strange thing though is that she says 1/5 instead of 1/8. It should be 8 fragments, right? Did something go wrong along the way, or is she still working on this while talking to us? If you go back to her monologue in Act 1, the narrator says that she is waiting to hear a certain object shattering beyond repair. Now, I'm not saying anything definitive here, because certain object is very broad. It could be anything, but the fact that it uses the same word as the anecdote is fascinating to say the least. Now, she does have a second story. This one is a lot more simplistic, but I would also say it's just as mysterious. The second story focuses on a certain magical pot called the Wish Granting Pot. This pot was found by a member of Songque wandering the streets of Amber, aka Amber Street. I wanted to sound cool. Did it work? It was eventually picked up by a fortune teller where she would deceive her audience through the pot's magical properties. Those magical properties being that any person who speaks to the pot saying that they want any liquid substance they can think of, that said liquid would be in that pot and would start pouring out. Even liquids that are not drinkable like mud or boiling oil would pour from the pot if someone said that they wanted that. The pot is also bottomless, with people stating that the amount of liquid pouring out didn't make sense considering the pot's size. The citizens of Songque were puzzled and simultaneously amazed by this revelation that they stumbled across. They wanted to know how it worked, but they couldn't. The lid of the pot was very tightly shut, almost like it was super glued on, because they couldn't pry it open no matter how long they tried. The common assumption being that whatever was inside would tell them how it worked. And why wouldn't they assume that? The lid was impossible to open, almost as if somebody or something purposefully made it that way. Through a small scheme, Ajita acquired the pot from the fortune teller. Details omitted, of course. We don't need to hear how she calmly, non-threateningly persuaded the fortune teller, do we? Like many others, she couldn't pry it open, but because she was curious, she asked a question no one has ever asked it before. Please pour out a harmless elixir that allows me to see things I've never seen before. Let's just say she did indeed see things that she has never seen before. We don't know what she saw. It's censored by a black box, and "I have seen it" is written in red text at the bottom. The fact that that's in red text makes me think it's something sinister or something that clearly wasn't meant to be seen. Did the lid open, revealing something that even she couldn't even comprehend? Maybe this is the reason she went mad, as Lantern says in the previous anecdote. And let's step back a bit. Where did this pot even come from? Who or what created it? Baiji? The shadows? Or was it just found in Amber Street? Why? So many questions and so little answers that will hopefully be answered in future chapters. I was going to dissect Baiji's anecdote in this video as well, but Ajita's ran on for so long, and I also have a lot to talk about regarding him, so I'm going to split this video into 2 parts. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think Baiji getting his own video is the most fitting. If you like this video, like and subscribe. It helps this channel a lot and it lets me know you like to see more of this type of content. Goodbye.